This is the video for 91610 Concepts. So looking at your Teams page under your student resources, I've added some additional things for you to look at. One is this concept example from Dave Dobbin, and this development example also from Dave Dobbin. He's a teacher up in Bay of Plenty, Trident High School. And also the steering geometry. If you're in charge of doing the steering, have a look at that information. There's some really good information in there. Open up your conceptual design book and we'll look back at where we got to last time. So our last example, we looked at setting our brief and our risk management. We did some research. We looked at the physical environment and some additional research on electric versus combustion engines. We compared different types of material, and now we're up to this concept stage. So on your design process, you can see we've done a brief, a little bit of research, and we're up to this stage here, which is the concepts. Once we've done our concepts, we pick our best idea, and we go on to development. And then once we've finished our development, we get to our final design, and that's the end of this standard. These other two ones are for the actual making and construction of your vehicle. So before you do your concept, it's really useful for you to look back at the brief and make sure whatever you're drawing relates to the brief. So if we go all the way back up to the top of the brief, so you can see we said in my example, if we were doing the drag race as the race, I've set a number of things as high priorities. One was the tires, the weight, safety, like having a roll cage, and the motor and the brakes. These are all high priorities. So when I'm drawing designs, they must relate to these attributes that have the highest priority. So I'm really trying to draw ideas that have two 20-inch front wheels and one larger, should be 27-inch back wheel. And I should also be thinking about drawing ideas that have a low center of gravity, particularly lowering the front and back axles to sit below the frame. I should also be drawing ideas that have that roll cage. In fact, that's a must-have to race. And I should also be doing thinking about ideas that are simple and not too complex, so that you guys can meet that deadline to race at the end of term 3. So always refer back to the brief before you do your concepts and your development. So keeping those attributes in mind, this example of Dave Dobbins is, so you can see he's done 3 fairly basic concepts, but he has written a small analysis on each concept. He showed it to his stakeholder, and he's done that for each one, and he's given each concept a rating out of 5. And that's helped him quickly get 3 ideas down and without taking too much time. So what I suggest for you guys is, in your teams, if you're in charge of the steering and suspension, or if you're in charge of the frame, or whatever part of the vehicle you're in charge of, you really need to work together on this one and come up with some concepts together. So i.e. sit down and draw your concepts together and use the same designs that you've drawn together. As long as you acknowledge whoever has drawn the concepts, that is fine. So what you should really do is get whoever's in charge of the frame, draw some rough frame designs like this one here, and then if you could add in some steering detail on this page as well, or you could add in some suspension detail on this page too. So that way you can get everybody's contribution on the single page. So if we just zoom in on this area here, or maybe we can't, he does say for concept 1, if you just did a simple pin analysis of your own concept, a positive, an interesting, and a negative statement, you remember that from the last assessment, Dave Dobbin has said this concept provides functional performance such as the roll cage for protection, strength, and could cover with vinyl for weather protection. The shape is appealing with smooth curves and aerodynamic characteristics. But his stakeholders said that his power to weight ratio will be poor with the engine and the cost will be high, requiring extra funds. So he's given that concept a 2 out of 5 rating. His second concept, he's given it a 4 out of 5 rating, but he thinks that it might be too hard to manufacture some of these curves. His last concept, he's given it a 5 out of 5 because it meets all the designs, satisfies all the design specifications in the brief. So it meets, he reckons this concept's the best because it meets the most attributes in the brief. And it's a simple design, so that's the design he's chosen to develop further. So over to you guys. Your challenge really is to, if you're up for it, is to, as a team, sit down and design together on paper, preferably, your designs. And each person should be contributing their area and onto the page as well. Next video, we're going to discuss development.